Hello, and welcome to our video on types of nerves. Nerves are the functional and structural units of the peripheral nervous system, PNS. They're composed of groups of individual specialized cells called neurons, or nerve cells, which transmit motor and sensory information back and forth between the PNS and central nervous system, the CNS. Transmission is initiated via electrochemical impulses known as action potentials. Nerves are like cables that carry electrical impulses between your brain and the rest of your body. These impulses help you feel sensations and move your muscles. They also maintain certain autonomic functions like breathing, sweating, or digesting food. Nerves are the organs that make up the peripheral nervous system. It consists of a cord-like structure with multiple nerve fibers, also called axons, wrapped in layers of tissue and fat. This axon has layers of connective tissue around it. This connective tissue is called the endoneurium. This entire nerve is further enclosed in another layer of connective tissue called the epineurium. The structure of a nerve is explained below. A group of neurons is organized into bundles inside the nerves. This bundle is known as fascicles. The perineurium surrounds and holds together each fascicle. The perineurium is concentrically laminated and composed of flattened cells, collagen fibers, and basement membranes. Neurons and blood vessels are held inside the fascicles by a loose connective tissue known as endoneurium. It covers and holds the outer surface of the nerves together. Arteries and veins are present between the fascicles. These blood vessels supply nutrients and gases to the neurons inside the fascicles. There are several ways to categorize the nerves. The categorization of the nerves is based on the way they transmit information, their structure, and their location. Based on their structure, there are 4 types of nerves. 1. Bipolar neurons. These neurons have 2 processes arising from a central cell body, typically 1 axon and 1 dendrite. These cells are found in the retina. 2. Multipolar neurons. They have 1 axon and many dendrites, with a cell body displaced to one side of the axon. Motor neurons are a prime example of this. 3. Unipolar neurons. Here, the cell body is at one end of a single unbranched axon, and there are no dendrites. These can be found in the cochlear nucleus of the brain. 4. Pseudo-unipolar neurons. They have 1 axon, which is divided into 2 branches by the presence of the cell body. Sensory neurons are all pseudo-unipolar. There are 3 types of nerves in the human body which are classified based on their functions. These are the sensory nerves, motor nerves, and mixed nerves. Motor nerves are those nerves that carry the messages in the form of a response from the brain, or the spinal cord, to other parts of the body, such as the muscles and the glands. They're responsible for carrying the information from the CNS to the PNS. Efferent nerves convey motor impulses away from the CNS to effector organs, such as muscles and glands. They can be divided into 2 types. Somatic motor nerves. They provide innervation to the skeletal muscles. And visceral motor nerves. They are part of the autonomic nervous system and they innervate smooth muscle, cardiac muscle, and glands. All motor impulses are sent to the PNS via descending tracts. Motor neurons are responsible for integrating signals from the brain to the muscles, glands, and organs that intend to carry out the required motor function. Motor neurons allow us to move, talk, eat, swallow, and breathe. Therefore, without these cells, we would not be able to complete many basic life functions. There are 2 types of motor neurons. Upper motor neurons. These are neurons which travel between the brain and the spinal cord, and lower motor neurons. These are neurons which travel from the spinal cord to the muscles of the body. These are the nerves that send messages to the brain or the spinal cord from the sense organs. These are enclosed in the form of a bundle-like structure or nerve fibers in the peripheral nervous system. They carry information from the PNS to the CNS. Those nerves can be further divided into somatic sensory, carrying information from the skin, skeletal, and joints, and visceral sensory from visceral organs such as the liver or kidneys. All those sensory impulses are then sent to the CNS via ascending tracks. The various signals from the sensory nerves trigger functions that include movement, organ function, gland secretion, and all body activity. Physical and chemical factors affect hearing, touch, including vibration, heat, and light. For example, what you hear, too loud, too soft, or just right, are physical triggers from the environment that are then converted into a chemical message to the brain. The senses of smell and taste are only chemically activated. In these instances, smelling something or tasting something is a chemical reaction only. When something is sensed from within or outside of the body, sensory neurons are activated. This can be any kind of sensation, from a chill in the air on the skin to an upset stomach within the body. Sensory neurons are always monitoring your body. Messages to the brain are used to make major or minor adjustments, but can also include messages that everything's just okay and that no action needs to be taken. The following are the subsections of the sensory neurons. Somatosensory systems. Responsibilities of the somatosensory system include sensations of touch, pressure, vibration, the position of the limbs, heat, and pain. There are 3 pathways in this system. Messages can be carried to the dorsal root ganglion, to the thalamus, or to the cerebral cortex. Mechanoreceptors respond to pressure or distortion. The mechanoreceptors are proprioceptors that note the position of the limbs. Thermoreceptors note the temperature, and nociceptors note pain and temperature changes. Spinothalamic pathway. Conduction of sensation, particularly pain, temperature, pressure, touch, tickling, and itching, is the job of the spinothalamic pathway. These messages are then relayed from the receptor cells to the spinal cord to the thalamus part of the brain. Posterior column medial lemniscus pathway. Sensations of fine touch, the position of the limbs, vibration, and the ability to identify an object by touch, stereognosis, are the responsibility of the posterior column medial lemniscus pathway. Sensory receptors connect to the medulla oblongata in the brain, and then to the thalamus, where messages are routed to the sensory interpretation part of the brain. Visual system. Sight begins in the retina of each eye, where messages are sent to optic nerves, on to the midbrain, and then to the primary visual center in the brain. Auditory system. Sound vibrations cause the tiny hairs in the ear canal to move, which transfers an impulse to the vestibulocochlear nerve, to an area in the brainstem, which connects to the midbrain through the thalamus to the primary auditory cortex in the brain. Interneurons in the brain transmit messages from sensory nerves to the motor nerves, or from motor nerves to sensory nerves. Sensory nerves indicate the status of the body. Adjustments are made through the motor nerves to speed up, slow down, or keep the pace of activity in and outside of the body. Interneurons are the central nodes of neural circuits, enabling communication between sensory or motor neurons and the central nervous system, the CNS. They play vital roles in reflexes, neuronal oscillations, and neurogenesis in the adult mammalian brain. Another way to categorize the nerves is based on their location in the body. The nerves of the body are either cranial nerves, spinal nerves, or derivatives of them. Nerves exiting the cranium, the skull, are cranial nerves. Those exiting the spinal column are spinal nerves. Altogether, there are 43 paired nerves in the human body. 31 of these are in the spinal cord, spinal nerves, and 12 of them are in the brain, the cranial nerves. Cranial nerves are the nerves that emerge directly from the brain, including the brainstem, of which there are conventionally considered 12 pairs. Cranial nerves relay information between the brain and parts of the body, primarily to and from regions of the head and neck, including the special senses of vision, taste, smell, and hearing. Here are the 12. CN1, olfactory. CN2, optic. CN3, oculomotor. CN4, trochlear. CN5, trigeminal. CN6, abducens. CN7, facial. CN8, vestibulocochlear. CN9, glossopharyngeal. CN10, vagus. CN11, accessory. CN12, hypoglossal. The nerves connected to the spinal cord are, again, the spinal nerves. The arrangement of these nerves is much more regular than that of the cranial nerves. All of the spinal nerves are combined sensory and motor axons that separate into two nerve roots. The sensory axons enter the spinal cord as the dorsal nerve root. The motor fibers, both somatic and autonomic, emerge as the ventral nerve root. The dorsal root ganglion for each nerve is an enlargement of the spinal nerve. In the human body, there are 31 pairs of spinal nerves, one on each side of the vertebral column. These are grouped into the corresponding cervical, thoracic, lumbar, sacral, and coccygeal regions of the spine. There are 8 pairs of cervical nerves, 12 pairs of thoracic nerves, 5 pairs of lumbar nerves, 5 pairs of sacral nerves, and 1 pair of coccygeal nerves. And the spinal nerves are part of the peripheral nervous system. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.